Dakota, or we can't use it anymore. We did just have to put in new controllers for the HVAC up there also, so those are things that are gonna come out of there that we weren't planning on. It happens.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay.
Well, you can see, Clark, that budget, you look how funny that is. Goes from 2 to 3, 35,000.
Yeah, I see that, I see that.
Back down to 10, that's why six is our best guess.
Okay,
But it's really a guess.
that's fine,
And if they go over the 6, they gotta come back and tell us what happened.
that's fine. I just,
She's
just
probably
looking
gonna
at
be
the
here
number.
before that anyway,
That's fine.
if something happens. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's all we need. So we just saved $6,000. And we said 10 just 5 times before that, so. See how easy this is? Mr. Schultz. Mr.
Good
Schultz,
afternoon.
What line are we on you?
54,
54.
I think.
Okay. So the golf ball travels far last week when it was 30 below zero. Just
It does, the
rolls
ground's
and rolls.
frozen, it just keeps right on
It
going.
just keeps on going. You've done some improvements, cut down some volunteer trees. I appreciate that very much.
You bet, we were in the river Friday, and when the river was frozen, now it's all wide open again, so.
I hit one the other day off number 8 and that thing's still going.
And he's serious. It went by Whitcups. Okay, so what do you need, Brian?
We're looking at for next year, to update a greens mower. With one set of heads is typically about $25,000. The newest one we have right now is 2011. The couple before that, we're actually in the process right now, this winter is rebuilding. We've taken the reels all apart and we've ground them enough times that there's no real life left. So we're working on those to update that. Obviously we need 3, every day we send 3 out. Sometimes even we can convert one to a 4th one in case we have something going on early enough that we gotta get everything mowed. So we're looking at a greens mower. That's a brand new one. I mean, in the past we have done, we've been pretty efficient with, talking to distributors, finding something that comes off of a lease program from a different golf course. Kind of comes with a warranty. So that is an option there. The improvements that we're working on, last couple of years I've had 6 to 8, 10 guys that have been real vocal and real, they really want to improve on some things, and those 3 that I've listed there, they've kind of, we've talked about it over the winter time, and that's what we'd like to work on next year. Kind of depends on, some of the guys are farmers, they, obviously they'll plant and get everything going in the springtime and then help us out when they're done with that. We're looking at adding a cart path off the walking trail on 4, which is by, it's on 4 Green. We leave the carts up top, but it's kind of it kind of ends up being a huge traffic area where bicyclists, walkers, everything like that, people coming off the development, oftentimes there's kind of a congestion area there, so we're looking at bringing the cart path down to the tee box and eliminating that. And then 5 Green down by the bathroom, just with everything how it sits, there's quite a bit of water that ends up sitting there for that extra day or two, and we're looking at running a drain tile along there and getting rid of that. Just trying to kind of make some improvements. Most of that, there'll be some supply expenses, but pretty much all the labor, even some of the equipment, I think we can get donated, or we can borrow from somebody. I mean, I've got a contact on the development that can, a lot of times they'll bring a trencher into town and just say, hey, why don't you test it out for me? So just make sure everything's going there, so we'll try and work on that. Other than that, pray for a lot of sunshine next year and no flooding, and we'll be good.
So the $25,000 greens mower, how many greens would that mow on a normal day? Is that 9 or 18 or whatever, or what?
Usually we send them out kind of third. So we've got 3 practice greens and the 27, so 30. So it'd be typically about 10 or 11. Some are bigger than, it just depends on the speed. Depends if you get caught by people.
And if this is 25, has that got like 3-year warranty with it, if you're gonna get a new one, is that?
A lot of times they're 5 with the main parts, hoses, filters, stuff like that. I mean, preventative maintenance stuff, that's not really included, but a major issue, it's typically 5.
So you keep
Is
the
this the
old
price
ones
of the
back
new
up
one,
then?
Brian?
Yes, with one set of heads.
You keep the old ones as backup then?
It depend, right now, I'd have to go look at, we may trade in one of our the oldest ones.
Okay.
The thing is, they're really not worth a whole lot of money, when we get done with them. I looked at the newest one we have right now has 3,300 hours on it. A couple of the other ones have 4,400 and 4,700 hours on it. And that's where we've gotten into the trouble with, we've got to rebuild them now. The life of the blade just isn't there. So it's about $1,200 to replace the 3, just with the cassette to fit back in there, replace bearings.
So if you're looking at any salvage value at all, and you're looking at a positive to the budget, you could get rid of one or whatever.
Yeah, they're probably gonna give you $1,500, $2,000, I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
It just depends on which one. It really depends on which one we have. We're sitting pretty good on actual units, but we just don't have, it's just when 1 or 2 of them sit in the shop and don't work right, then we replace them.
But you've also been very successful in the past of working with Toro or whoever, of a mower coming off of another.
Yes, depending on,
You saved a lot of money doing that.
yeah, and I've talked to Kirk down at Midwest Turf, and actually, the last rough mower we got, Jacobson dealer had the Toro mower, so obviously they don't want to keep the other, the competitors' equipment around, so they dumped it to us pretty quick. And we got a good deal there. More than likely buying a brand new one, it really doesn't make, it's nice to have a brand new piece of equipment, but if we can find one off a 3-year lease too. The other addition I kind of left off was the fairway renovation we're going to kind of work on. It may be to take the 3-year-old greens mower from, we'll say, Dakota Dunes, and Toro will, look at everything over, check it all over, and then, we'll get that at a discounted rate. And that might be another option again this year. I mean, just on that, there's really not a lot of technology difference. It's not like it's just a new mower, everything's, it's new, so.
And that's 25, that's figured in there, Bev?
25 to
It's in there, okay.
I think it looks good.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a fair price for a new one, if we go out and get a new one, right?
Yeah, it should be real close. Yeah, it hasn't been
You don't
real
have
long
a bid
since.
document in your hand or anything
No.
like that, but you've talked to them enough
No.
that that's a fair price for what you guys really want.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, they may have something that comes up too that, hey, we've got a whole lease program here that just came up, would you be willing to take that? It might be a $10,000 mower, it could be you just don't know.
It's just,
Well,
that's
that's
the
what-
bottom line now. So
That's
yeah.
kind of what
Yeah.
we've done with a few of these other departments that you've seen, we've ended up buying backhoes and skid loaders and everything, sometimes over 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And, because you're not gonna spend the 25,000 in 1 year, but you may spend it for 2 items, you might spend $20,000 a year for 3 years. And then you get everything that you need for the next 3 years, so.
And the sprayer last year, we had about $24,000 in, and a guy from Yankton kind of got into I don't know, he called their bluff and they got him a brand new sprayer. I kind of said, well, you should maybe work on it, and then he had some other things go on, and then all of a sudden Toro called me up and said, hey, this guy's gonna trade it in, you still looking for a sprayer? But we got it for $8,000 instead of 24.
Yeah.
So, with everything updated other than, tires and stuff like that, they're all in good shape, but everything else was, kind of gone over by their sale.
It works.
So,
You want to own the 5th of the main backhoe?
So he does call us. Yeah, he does call once in a while.
Not drainage.
how about a 10?
Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
All right, Bruce, library
We have a 3% increase over the last year that we're asking for. We are not asking for any additional staff at this time. Most of our increases the personnel costs as they are go up, and a few other line items have been adjusted. I guess I'd be interested in fielding any questions.
So this is adjusted with the full-time to part-time adjustment that we made last fall or whatever?
This includes that full-time position that we added last
Okay.
fall, yes.
And the hours, I know we asked about hours.
Mhm.
Are we, friends of the library thing met last night or whatever, is everybody in the board meets? Is everybody agreeing that we're gonna leave the hours? Is that what we're gonna do, or what are we gonna do?
I can hand this out. I know one of the things that have been talked about is looking at the usage on those Sundays. And we have been open on a Sunday for just a year now. We opened January 7th of last year. So I spent some time in January running a report for every Sunday that we were open. And that blue sheet, that grid, will show you how many items we had checked out on a Sunday, how many computers were used, what our door count was for that Sunday. And then I kind of took a look at it and saw what it would be on an average. How does that compare to other days of the week? How does it compare if it was just the Sunday in the winters versus the Sunday in the summers? Because that has been, historically, the library has been open on a Sunday, but they weren't open during the summer. They were during the school year. So then I went ahead and I did it from Labor Day to Memorial Day. How would that compare? And they really were pretty equal, which I guess I was surprised. I was surprised to see that. I thought it would go down, but maybe not everybody goes to the lakes on Sunday. So we do have a fair amount of usage on Sunday in the summer as well. Our board president is here. I don't know, Rob, if you'd like to say anything. Okay.
Come on.
I don't know if that's the kind of usage data you were looking for, or.
Well, I kind of think, and I have talked Sundays before. It's simply, I really think that I want to clarify it was overall hours.
Okay.
Not necessarily, Sundays were added.
Right.
So they became, boom, 5 more hours or 15 more labor hours
Yeah.
or whatever number it is, okay? I think my concern is and remains to be the hours were open, which drives your part-time, or at least drives the salaries up. And
Sure.
I cannot wrap my head around why the library needs, I don't care if it's still open on Sundays, but I can't believe we can't open, I'm not at the library, so I'm not gonna claim, where did I see these hours? I just saw them about 2 minutes ago here. Oh, yeah, on the card,
Yep.
maybe opening later an hour or closing earlier an hour or a couple hours on certain days. I'm not necessarily here to pick on Sundays. I've had a couple people call me, and, say, gosh, we like it open on, fine. I told them, I said, I don't set the hours. Well, you set the budget. That's a true statement. You're only going up 3%, surely, it's not a huge jump.
Right.
I'd like to see the library sharpen their pencil on the number of hours you're actually open. Because like any business,
Mhm.
if you open 7 more hours a week, you'd have bigger numbers.
Right.
Would we
Right.
agree on that? Did somebody come in during those 7, okay, so it's automatically going to increase.
Right.
I think what I'm asking, I'm not even gonna use the words committee, Scott and I were in complete agreement on this, and that is, did not feel that we need to be open as many hours as we are. You run a good ship,
Mhm.
you've got something to be proud of, but that's it. I just wanted to say that.
Sure.
So I don't wanna keep saying Sunday hours.
Okay.
I don't wanna keep saying Sunday hours. I just can't believe that all those hours are needed. That's it.
All right. I will say you know, I looked at the older library cards that had been listed Sunday hours, and yes, they used to open at 10, and when I started, they used to open at 10, but we had at least 2 staff members in the building. And I thought, well, if we're gonna be here taking taxpayer dollars, let's open that door at 9. And so I don't know, and the way it was run, that particular thing, I feel that was gender revenue neutral, because there were people in the building doing, you know, prep work. I don't think they were misusing time, but I felt it was an easy thing to add. Say, let's just flip the sign to open, we'll serve whoever comes in. You are correct, though, that adding Sunday hours certainly is, you know, uses more personnel. That's for sure, no doubt about it. I think when I look at the way the state library runs sizing for libraries, we're considered E, and what that means is between 6 and 10,000. And so the average per capita support for a size E library from their city is $51, and we're running at 39. So we're the average is 51, and we're down at 39. So I feel you know, we run a pretty tight ship. Certainly, there's always things that, you know, I think we could look at. But I think for the amount of staff and the amount of hours that we have, we get a lot accomplished.
Surely, I'm not a librarian by any means
Yeah.
whatsoever. Don't claim to. I can't even probably spell library right, to tell you the truth. But the bottom line is this: okay. And so I'm not going to micromanage you or Rich or fire department or anybody. Not going to even attempt to. Do you need as much staff there for the hours that they're open? I mean, I don't know if you got an average of 4 people there, or 3 people there, or 2 people. You know, I don't know. But have you looked at that? Because honestly, my concern is the line item of part-time. I'm just going to be honest with you. Okay, I'm very impressed. You're only asking for 3.5%. So you know, it's not like I'm here with a butcher knife.
Right. And that is something that you look at, and that's why we have a line item of temp staff. I don't know that many other city departments have that, because in the summer, that's when we really run at a pretty high check in, check out. We've got to get a lot of books on the shelf, and we bring in some part-time staff to help us meet that ramp up. And then there's other times where we have to do that we try to have 2 people on the weekends and on the evenings, unless the person doing the program might be that third. But we do try to have that scale back, and then we try to match it to what programs we are doing. Yeah, and there's going to be an off week where maybe Lisa doesn't have a story time and she's not out visiting schools, that she's in the building, but then generally she's prepping for summer reading or programming or planning. And she has written quite a few grants this year, has been very successful at grant writing. So those things all take a little bit of time. It's not all shelving books. There's a lot of that grant writing and prepping and ordering and processing of books too. So yeah.
I had a question, Shirley.
Sure.
And to be very honest with you, I take a look at the overall picture.
Mhm.
The subsidies.
Sure.
We're not here to make money for the city on any of these projects. But we are here to keep our subsidies at a minimum, the most we can, as much as we can, which is only good business, in my opinion.
Sure.
And your subsidies have gone up every year, as you well know, and we've talked about this. And let me show you something on here that you didn't even budget for. And that's, what about paying back the Red Leg loan payment to the tune of $45,000 a year, which isn't in that budget?
Mhm.
And you're jumping from $390,000 a year this year to 454, and that isn't even in there. And there's only one area that you, it looks to me like, and I've looked at it, there's only one area that you can manage, and that's your help. That's your highest price place.
Our budget has gone down. In 57, we took a big hit, and we're kind of,
In 17.
yeah, in, on 2017, right? We took a
But
big
you went
hit.
back on 18, you're back
Right.
up to 12,000 more.
Sure.
And in 19, you got approved for almost for 442,000.
And I will say in 18, we turned in $10,000 at the end of the year. So we were approved for more than we ended, and that has happened every year I've been here. We have never gone over budget. So I don't,
But you've raised the budget every year.
well, costs have gone up every year.
I understand
I don't
that.
set the cost of
That's
books
fine.
or personnel,
You
right?
try to keep them at a minimum.
Right,
Like I say, we're not here to make money.
Right.
And we've got, don't get me wrong, we've got a beautiful, brand new library. And the thing that really, and I hate to compare, but when you take the library that we've got, and you've done a good job and I've complimented you on it. But again, going back on a business-like basis, it costs a lot of money to run that place.
sure. And that's why I think it helps to look at what does it compare, because it's like, okay, we're the only library in Lamar's, the public library. There's school libraries and other libraries. But so then you have to almost, by default, compare us to other libraries in our grouping. And so that's why I print off, I know Clark's not a fan of averages necessarily, but that's why I print off the average. Are we really out of the ballpark with what other libraries our size are running? And in fact, we're, the bottom 30th percentile of what it
What's
costs.
this,
This is what it costs to, the last year's fiscal 18 for libraries our size, it's called size E libraries from the state library. And so, you're right, last year, the last fiscal year that just closed, our subsidy was $39